I really am.
Been to Montana much before?
Actually, my son-in-law has a home in Bozeman. I was up in Bozeman about 2 weeks ago when a big snowstorm came through, and we were there for a few days with our grandchildren. We took the kids up to Big Sky, where they did some snowboarding and skiing, and it's beautiful. I've been in Missoula before also. It seems like Montana is the state I'm winding up in when I travel out this way. And it's just wonderful. I mean, everything is it's so fresh and clean and just a beautiful place to be. I really like it out this way.
How does it feel to know that you're going to be here and talking to the Montana State football team and just encouraging them to the start of their season?
I'm excited. I have had the opportunity over the last 8 to 10 years to do a lot of bowl games. And you have both teams that are present usually at the bowl game. And I do a lot of the speeches during the luncheons. So I have all the administrators, all the coaches, and all the players. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to the Montana State football team. And Coach Choate's in his new assignment, has taken over as the head coach of this football team. I think the freshmen are embarking on a great aspect of their life. The seniors are now going to close the chapter on a book of their life. And the thing that I want to impress on all of them is to seize the opportunity that's out there. Life's just nothing but opportunities. I'm sitting here watching the Masters, and if you have a 3-foot putt for birdie, you have to make it. My world is golf from a competitive standpoint now. I mean, it's the only thing that you find that gets the juices going. And so to be able to talk to the kids a little bit about what it was like when I was in school, because it really isn't that different, even though time has passed and it was 50 years ago, 45 plus since I was in school. It's still the same thing. The game of football hasn't changed that much. The game of life hasn't changed that much. It's still based upon the individuals making great decisions and seizing opportunities. And the Montana State football team has a chance now to start anew. They get to wipe the slate clean, and this group gets to start together. And the unique thing about this group that'll be on tomorrow in the scrimmage, they won't be the same as the one next year or the one after or the one after it. So they have a chance to make their own piece of history, and that's something I want to talk to them about. And it's interesting, when I started speaking, it was when you talk to an audience, you just hope everybody listens. Then you come to realize that not everybody there is going to connect with you or listen to you or understand what you're doing. But there are some people that you have a chance to impact their life. I've been blessed in so many different ways with the experiences that I've been able to enjoy, and it's just a pleasure and a delight and an honor to have a chance to be able to share some of them with young people going forward. Some of them on that football team are going to be in exactly the same way I was. That people are going to think they're not big enough, they're not strong enough, they're not fast enough. You can't let people tell you what you want to do with your life. It's your decision and your decision alone. So I'm excited about a chance to talk to the kids. I really am. And the coaches. And to really thank the boosters and everybody that's coming out tonight. I mean, to be able to have this kind of support, to come all the way to Great Falls. When Montana State's located in Bozeman, you come here to Great Falls a couple hundred miles away, and it's the biggest fundraiser they have. That just tells you how rabid everybody is in this area. I mean, I've had so many people come up, whether it was dinner last night or whether it was on the golf course today or where it was, just thanking me for coming here. And I said, "Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it."
How did this all come about?
I have agents that book different things for me. So that's, this was an opportunity that had come up. I know Dick Butkus had been here before. I know Danny Fouts has spoken before, and they seem to be, bringing in guys. Jimmy Kelly. And some of us have come before. Most of the work I do is corporate, though. I do anywhere between 50 and 60 presentations annually to businesses of varying types, associations, businesses, charities. And I don't do a lot of this particular type of presentation other than around bowl season when I get to do the games. But I really enjoy talking to the young people. And that's something, we don't give them enough credit. I don't think we give the young men and young women enough credit that they really understand what's going on. And then when you get a chance to talk to them and you share something with them, a number of times I've had kids come up and say, "Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate you pointing that out. It's something I hadn't thought about." And it's just, it could be that one little thing that you touch on that all of a sudden sends them in a direction of a life-changing experience.
What are some of the specific things you're going to touch on during your speech to the football players and just, the whole Bobcat community, that you said those little things that might really stand out and really touch them? What do you hopefully will be impactful that you'll say?
Well, I'll talk to them about goals, and I define that in a certain way, and then their attitudes, caring about one another, working as a part of a team, what motivates them, how do you create a competitive edge in life? I mean, people get competitive edges because they're taller, because they're smaller, because they're faster, because they can do certain things that other people can't do. I mean, how do you take advantage of those? And don't use where you are in your life as an excuse for not doing something. Because we all are faced with situations in our lives where it could have been easier. I could have had this, I could have done that. Well, then why not get off your butt and do it? We have a generational crisis. What's happened is we now have participation trophies. Whoever came up with that stupid idea, that's the dumbest darn thing I've ever heard in my life. You take away the initiative for young people to want to accomplish something in their life, basically because they showed up, they deserve to get a trophy. Life isn't like that. It doesn't work that way. What are you teaching them? So, and to me, the whole participation stuff is just downright stupid.
You're obviously somebody who had a serious injury or two.
You think?
When you talk to players like the Montana State football team, how much do you talk about just kind of living in the moment, taking everything in, because one day you can all be gone?
Well, you bring up a great. It isn't just talking to them about living in the moment, because it could be gone. Mine was gone in an instant. I mean, I ask people to snap their fingers. I mean, like that, our life can change that quickly. What I try and do in that particular point is emphasize the educational aspect of life. See, you can lose, physically, you can lose a lot of things. You can lose the ability to do a lot of different things. But if you take the time to study and apply yourself, what you put in between these two ears, nobody can ever take away from you. Nobody can ever take away the education that you create for yourself, both in a social environment as well as a formal academic environment. And I think it's really important for them to understand how important their education is. The term student athlete should actually be the way that we should look at student athletes, not athlete students like some universities do. And I know at Montana State they don't. I've been doing a little research, and I know it's just it's a great environment. 17,000 fans. I mean, that's homey. I mean, maybe you get visitors to come in, maybe you sell 1,000 tickets to them, but you don't want them in there. You want all your people. 17,000, 16,000 of them. I think it's exciting. It's fun to run out on a football field. People ask me all the time, what's the one thing you remember about going to the University of Notre Dame? My first football game as a sophomore, running out onto that football field and running into that stadium. And the student body was here, the band was over here, the people were screaming. I get goosebumps just telling the story. It's an exciting moment in a young man's life.
Joe, the game's so wildly popular, but a lot of people are worried about its future because of the safety aspect.
Yeah.
And of course, the game has changed a little bit in terms of how it's played and the rules governing safety. What are your opinions about the future of the game, and also as it pertains to young parents wondering about their kids should play football?
I get the question asked every time I do something, whether it's a corporate event, whether it's a high school event, charity event. Parents are afraid of their children being hurt, and they should be. They should be concerned. I ask people all the time, let's say you don't have your child participate in youth football, okay? Where would be the likely place you would like them to participate? Because you want them to be involved in an extracurricular activity. You want them to be out socializing with other kids. Oh, soccer. Soccer's number one when it comes to concussions. Football is not number one. I think there are so many positive elements to youth athletics. There's the interaction with other people. You have the nutritional aspect of it, because you have to keep your weight at a certain place. You have the educational part of it, because you have to memorize plays. You have to rely on that person next to you. You learn how to win, you learn how to lose. One of the things people never do is they never learn how to win. We all want to strive for success. We all want to be successful in our life. But then what happens when you get there? Look at the history of all the lottery winners. How many people are dead or they win millions and millions of dollars, and in a short period of time, their life's ruined. No, you have to teach. This teaches kids how to deal with success as well as failure. Teaches them also how to take direction from someone other than their parents. Respect another authority in their life. So there are so many positive elements, but yes, I'm concerned like any parent is, or like a grandparent is. But I think that through teaching and technology, and this is what parents have to do, is do the research. Don't just say, I don't want my child to do this. Take the time to look at it. For example, Kurt Warner, his 2 boys, he was not going to let them play football because Kurt had suffered concussions. And I mean, I'm a part of the lawsuit in the NFL. I have post-concussion syndrome. I understand some of the things in my life that are happening from a memory standpoint, from a balance standpoint. If somebody asked me, would you play the game again, knowing what you know? Absolutely. Absolutely. Would do it in a heartbeat. But Kirk didn't want his kids to play. And then he did some research, and he found a company called Unequal, of which he and I both have spent time working with to a degree. It's unequal.com is the website, and they build a Kevlar, a Celeron inset that goes in the helmets. That reduces the impact when it comes to being hit, which our studies have shown nothing will eliminate concussions, but it helps to reduce the possibility of them. So you have to take, now his boys play football, then his boys play football. So the coaches are trying to teach them how to hit, how to tackle. The technology is getting better and better and better to protect those of us that play the game and those that play the game today. I think the National Football League is in a very, very critical stage, though. It's through the officiating they've tried to make the game safer, which we all want, especially at our level. At what point do you compromise the integrity of the game? And that is, I believe, that is the one thing that everyone that's involved in football wrestles with. College football has the targeting and the suspensions. And it's an emphasis on safety. But you have bodies colliding. I mean, if you're running at me, I'm just going to do this to protect myself. Well, I'm bringing my head right down into a hitting zone when you tell me I have to hit between the shoulders and the knees. All of a sudden, boom, I'm down into that area. What do you do? And I think what you have to do, the rules in football are set up so well to protect the player that I think the players have forgotten how to protect themselves. They expect the rule to take care of you. When I played, the rules, I mean, I'm missing teeth. I get these, cosmetic dentistry is a wonderful thing. I mean, my nose was broken 7 times. I lost my front teeth. I've had broken collarbones, broken ribs, broken hands. And when it comes to contact, you have to figure out a way to protect yourself. Don't think that guy's not going to hit you. You're right. I told Kirk Cousins this a few years ago. He hurt his knee going out of bounds because he slowed down at the sidelines. I said, Kirk, man, you run through the sidelines, through that white 3-foot area, and you get yourself as far away from those guys as you can. Because they're coming at you. You get to that critical point where you slow down in our game, you put yourself in harm's way. So it is an issue, it is a question, and I know in the National Football League, both the Players Association and the league are endeavoring to try and make it as safe as possible.
Once upon a time, you had a chance to play professional baseball.
I did.
Why football? What made that decision, and why do you think it was such an influence on your life here now?
Well, I was 5 feet 10 and 152 pounds when I graduated from high school. When I graduated from the University of Notre Dame, I was 5 feet 11 and 172 pounds. I wasn't necessarily the biggest guy in the world. And so I did play in college. I got drafted by the Minnesota Twins to play professionally in baseball. But it felt like Drew Henson is a classic example. Young man, Drew went and played baseball and then tried to come back and play football. I had the opportunity to go and play football with an eye on baseball, but wanted to give football the first shot. Because I felt like I could always go back and field or hit and throw. And also in baseball, you have A, AA, AAA, and then you go on to the big. So there's a system that's set up to help you get better and better. You know, if you're a 22-year-old, 23-year-old rookie coming in back when I was coming out of school, it's no big deal. Today, it's like, oh my goodness, you've missed 3 or 4 years of getting ready. And in football, you're either in or out. You're going to make it or you're not going to make it. So that's why I sort of went the route of football, just because it was It was an opportunity to find out if I belonged. You know, we spend our life in validations. When I tell people this, you know, you think of it, we're all seeking validation. When I was in high school, we used to play New Brunswick High School. It was our big rival. They were big guys. Thanksgiving Day, played at Rutgers Stadium. I played well against them. I belonged being a high school quarterback. Then I went to the University of Notre Dame. The barometer of excellence for me there was the University of Southern California because they put so many guys into pro ball. If I could play well against them, then I deserved to be a college quarterback. Then I got to professional football. Then it became the Dallas Cowboys. They were the ones by which I measured myself because they were the great Dallas Cowboys with all the great players and the championships. And if I could play well against them, then I deserved to be there. So we spend our lives basically in validation.
What are some, oh, sorry.
No.
What are some differences in attitude maybe that you notice between the players at high level colleges and players at like the FCS level at like Montana State?
See, I don't notice that much of a difference. I think the guys that go to the big name schools, so to speak, they're no different than anybody at Montana State. It's just it's up to the individual. And this goes back to what I was saying before. It doesn't matter the venue that you work in. They're going to be given a chance to play college football. Forget about Division II, Division III, Division I. Forget about all that stuff. They're going to be given a chance. How good do you want to be? Do you want to be just one of those guys that's playing football? Or do you want to be one of those guys that wants to be great, that wants to be special? Because I think the foundation of things that we learn in football carry over into our lives. I build my presentations off of the world of business, the world of sports, and our own lives. They all parallel one another. And it starts with the foundation through athletics, is the way I present it. But you have great athletes coming out of Montana State. You have guys that go on and do well. You don't get necessarily maybe the numbers, but you still get the individuals that have an opportunity to be able to excel and exceed. So it's less about the environment and more about the individual making a determination if they want to do that.
You're talking about validation. I'm interested. How did the NFL draft process, was it significantly different when you were coming out of school than what it is now?
I just got off the phone with a writer from Sports Illustrated talking about this. It was different when I came out. We didn't have combines. You didn't sit down with the general manager. You didn't sit down with the coach. They didn't dissect you 1,000 ways and analyze you, and you didn't have meetings, and you didn't have to process information. They had your college film to look at. Then they made an evaluation of whether or not. I mean, I got drafted by the Miami Dolphins in the 4th round. I thought I would be drafted higher only because people told me they would draft me higher if I was still around. So the 1st round went by, you know, I didn't make the 1st round. 2nd round went by. I'm a little disappointed. Middle of the 3rd round, I went to Roger Baldessari, our PR guy, said, Raj, look, I'm out of here. I'm going to play basketball. Call me. I was upset. Call me if somebody wants me. Dolphins drafted me in the 4th round. It was actually their 3rd pick. So that's why I wound up going there. But we didn't have the scrutiny and all of the things that these kids go through today. And the other thing is, you didn't have high school combines. I think what we're doing is we are stealing the opportunity for kids to be kids by making them specialized in a certain area. Parents, and this is no fault of theirs, but it's the way it is, parents will look at their children at times, and I ask them not to do this, and they see in their child the dream that they could never fulfill. No matter what it is, whether it's art, music, athletics, doesn't matter. But that's something, now all of a sudden you start to channel that young person in the direction that you never could have the chance at. And you take away the opportunity to experience everything. I think kids ought to play basketball, baseball, football. Do it all. Find one you like. Find one you get comfortable with and start to excel in. I think once you're able to do that, then you get a much more well-rounded individual. So, I mean, our draft was a whole lot different. A whole lot different. It was, like I said, it was you sit and you wait. And it wasn't so much that I thought I would be drafted higher. It's people told me I was going to be drafted higher. And that was disappointing. I mean, you think of the people, the 71 draft class that I was a part of. Archie Manning, Rex Kern from Ohio State, Dennis Dummett from UCLA, Chuck Hickson from SMU, Dan Pastorini from Santa Clara, Jim Plunkett from Stanford, myself, I mean, we had a pretty decent group of guys that went on to play college football in that particular graduating class of 71, or the year of 71.
You mentioned your injury, but it seems like that's such a defining moment in
It
your
is.
career now.
And I'll talk about that tonight.
When you, does that frustrate you at all, though, to think that that's the number one thing people think about when they?
No, I mean, I've been part of a world champion, I've been an MVP of the league, I've been a man of the year. I mean, I've been a Pro Bowl MVP, I guess you could say I had a decent career as a professional football player, but it is something that people remember. It happened on Monday night. If it probably didn't happen on Monday Night Football, I don't think probably people would be in a position where they are to say, wow. I mean, and that's just not football. That's everybody. I mean, it's been viewed, I think on YouTube, it's been viewed in excess of the combined sites 7 or 8 million times. And then when I do a presentation, people, if they don't know me, a lot of young kids don't know who I am, other than the guy that really broke his leg bad. You know, the guy that made people sick and throw up and all that. And then when a Kevin Ware gets hurt, I do a phone call or a TV show, and they ask me about Kevin, or Paul George when he broke his leg. It's people remember mine. They remember. A lot of people remember where they were the night it happened. I certainly do. And I remember the night like it was yesterday. And I'll tell the story tonight, as a matter of fact, of how it influenced and changed my life completely. I mean, I had it all, man. I had everything. I had the whole 9 yards, and it was like that, gone.
No All-Pro left tackle when that happened, right?
Actually, what had Jake and Joe Jacoby makes it a very, very specific point to let the world know that he was not in the game at that time. He said, "You be sure to tell people that I wasn't in the game." I said, "Jake, I got you covered. Don't worry about it." I hope he gets in the Hall of Fame in the next ballot too.
Do you ever think, what if though? What if he would have been there?
I'm not a what if guy. You know, what if I was 6'5"? What if I was 6'7"? I'd be a power forward in the NBA, or maybe a small forward. I'd be making $100 million guaranteed, and we wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be probably on my 36th hole. But it's, the funny part is we're dealt, every one of us is dealt a hand. You play the hand. I mean, it's cliche-ish to a degree, but you play the hand you're dealt. What are you gonna make of that? You know, and what do you want? What are you really looking for in life? What are the things you want in life? Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't be or have anything you want. Because there are a lot of people out there that don't want you to be successful. They'd much rather have you be mediocre like them. Sorry, average doesn't appeal to me. Never has.
A lot of guys that have their career end, whether it's by injury or concussions, or have some
Right.
reason that they could resent the game, don't watch a lot of football, or they separate themselves from the game. Do you?
I love it. I love football. I love high school football. I love college football. I love professional football. I watch Canadian football. I watch arena football. I just think the game is so wonderful to study. It's like anything. It's what I was. I was a professor of football. And people ask me about it all the time, and I love staying up on the draft. You know, we've got 4 or 5 kids that I think are going to be able to make football teams. I don't think we have anybody that's going to step in and be a starter like we've seen. There's not an Andrew Luck or an RG3. This draft doesn't have that. But they've got guys that'll be able to fill some of the spots when some of them leave. You know, Tom Brady's not getting any younger. Drew Brees isn't getting any younger. Even though they're signing contracts, free enterprise, I believe you get whatever you can get in your life. And from a football standpoint, there's always something to learn and watch. I'm always curious. I love to listen to all the different announcers and get their take on different situations. What would a bias? I want to see if I can come up with something before they can. And I'm not there, so I'm sort of confined to the TV. So I'm watching it and I'm going, okay, that's a touchdown pass. But did the safety get over quick enough? And if he did get over quick enough, it would have been a touchdown pass. So I want to hear the announcer say, was it a great throw? Was it a great play? Or is he going to point out what I just saw? So I guess you could say I compete against Troy and Phil and John constantly. I'm always watching these guys and just saying, I'm just curious. Are they going to be able to, look at the game the way I look at it?
You know, you'd mentioned earlier talking about you couldn't stand when kids now are getting, being recognized for their accolades, getting trophies and they're
No,
not really
participation
earned.
trophies, yeah.
Participation trophies. You know, just based on your history, Super Bowl wins, and just your name in general resonates from the East Coast, for myself particularly. Just how do you kind of reach these kids today and just kind of say, if you want to reach this level of success, what does it take for you in order to do that?
Well, you try and lay a plan out. First of all, you want to find out what they want. A lot of them say, I'm not sure, which is great. I think it's great. You know, you're 12, 14 years old. Oh, I want this. Well, if you want it, then you're going to have to figure out a plan. What we do, nutritionally, for example, you look at kids today. My offensive line averaged 283 pounds. The Hogs, the guy, they have a moniker. They're stars unto their own right. You know, the 5 guys up front, you know, Jake and Rusty and Jeff and Mark and George, those 5 guys, they're the Hogs. 283 pounds they average. Today there are high schools, and I'm sure there are some in this area, where the kids are 300. It's all changed, but it's a question of what they want to do. I like to, I know this is a press conference where I get to talk, but I'd love to be able to sit down with you individually and say, what do you think? Where are you going? And then you tell me where you're going, and then we can sort of look at a plan. And maybe I've been through exactly what you've been through. Maybe I haven't. Maybe what you're telling me is new, but it's food for thought for me. So it depends on the individual, the young person, what they want to do, where they want to go. I still believe there's no replacement for hard work. The better people practice harder, they work harder, they study harder. You're just better if you do that. Some of the most disappointing things that I see is you see these natural talents, and they take it to a certain level, and they don't feel like they have to work as hard. You know, I call this generation to a degree an entitlement generation. You know, they show up and it's like, hey, I'm here. Yeah, so show me what you got. That's what I love. Football's a game. You can't hide from the fans. You can't hide from the television camera, and by golly, you cannot hide from the film that the coaches put on. You can tell me 1,000 stories why you missed that block. I'm going to flip that film on. I'm going to tell you exactly why you missed it, or why you made that throw, or just exactly what it is. Social media today, the pressure that young people are under. Holy mackerel! You do something, it's instant. If you did something in California, it would take 3 or 4 days to find out what's going on the East Coast. You have to pick up the right kind of newspapers. Today, happen, find out, just like that. I feel sorry for athletes. We were laughing. Some of the guys around the league. We do autograph sessions. I'm on my way to San Francisco this weekend to do one tomorrow, and just some of the guys you run into. We're laughing back in the '80s, the '70s, and '80s. The things that we did. If there was social media around today, there's no telling where some of us would be. I mean, it was another different world. And there was a degree of keeping everything inside the organization. If there was a problem, we solved our own problems. And you didn't have to worry about it going anywhere because there was very few sources to leak. I mean, I grew up with it was ABC, NBC, and CBS. You had 3 television networks. That was it. Today there are 3,000 of them. And everybody's looking for something. Everybody truly seeks that 15 minutes of fame today. And, say something sensational and all of a sudden it goes viral.
Hey Joe, are you still buddies with some of those guys on the old Redskins teams? I'm old enough here to remember you playing.
We still, our guys, the Reds, I think there are different football teams that have a lot of the guys stayed in the area. We have quite a few guys that stayed in the Washington metropolitan area. San Francisco has a lot of guys that have stayed out in the San Francisco area. Dallas has a lot of guys staying in the Dallas area from the 80s, from most of the middle 80s when those were the teams that were really good. The Giant guys still up in New York a little bit to a degree, but I see a lot of our guys all the time.
You know, you're speaking to a school where that pretty famous kicker, a lot of folks think Jan Stenner was the greatest of all time. You played with a good guy.
I played golf with Jan. Mark Mosley was a great kicker. Jan.
What about Mark?
Mark set records. Mark was a straight-on kicker. I mean, he'd kick a 58-yard field goal straight on. Had about 18 socks on his foot. Cowboys used to make him count them. He never washed them. I'll tell you, by the 18th week, it was a little tough, a little rough. He lined his socks up. They stood by themselves, to be honest with you, by his locker. You could do that. But yeah, Mark was a great kicker. Mark was an MVP. Mark was MVP in 1982. I was MVP in 1983. There aren't too many teams that have had back-to-backs. And Larry Brown was in 1972. We've had 3 MVPs with the Washington Redskins, as we have had 3 different quarterbacks win world championships. Be a part of them. Which is sort of a funny thing. The world championships become ours. If you're a quarterback, it's your world championship. And it's like you won a world championship. People don't say the Redskins, they say Joe Theismann won a world championship. Mark Rippon won a world championship. Aaron Rodgers won a world championship. Eli's won 2. Tom's won 4. Joe's, and it's sort of neat that they're ours. we get to be the front guys when it comes to that kind of stuff.
So the golf's kind of your competitive outlet these days?
My obsession.
Your obsession.
Golf is my obsession. God, did I have a great day today. I made 7 birdies today. I made 7 birdies. I bogeyed 2 of the par 5s. I'm so ticked off. I shot 69 today. It should have been, it's one of those coulda, woulda, shoulda deals. But I hit the ball close today. I made some good putts. I played with great guys. It was just a tremendous morning. My experience here in Great Falls has been wonderful.
That same competitive attitude manifests itself on the golf course?
Always. My wife gets mad at me all the time. When I'm at a red light with somebody in the car next to me and we're the first cars, it's on. It's what I am. I apologize for nothing. I mean, I've lived a life that's exciting and wonderful, and I've been blessed to have a lot of people care about me in so many ways. And I appreciate everything. I appreciate everything that I've been able to be a part of. And it's my turn to try and give something back. And one of the things that I had a conversation with a friend of mine, I don't want to bore you with this, but about 3 months ago, we were talking about success. And if I was to ask each individual in this room to define success for me, we probably would all have a different viewpoint of what you felt success was, or you felt what success was, or you felt what success was. And instead of, everybody says, well, Joe, you were a successful football player, you're a successful speaker, you're a successful broadcaster. The truth of the matter is, I aspired to do very well in those particular fields. Now, the degree of success, whether I had or didn't have it, really is determined not by me, but by someone else. But when we think we've been successful, we've accomplished something, it's when we start giving something back that you become a true success. So as writers or as people in television, no matter what we do, when we start giving something back, when we start mentoring other people, and this is what I'm having a chance to do today and tonight, is that to be able to talk to Montana State football players and sort of give them a little bit of what I went through, where they're going to go, what they're going to be able to do in their life if they choose to do it. So this is my way to try and share the success moniker, to give something back. And I thought that was a very profound statement by a buddy of mine. It really opened my eyes to the other elements of life.
You mentioned something, just a little random question. You wanted to go to Dairy Queen. What are you specifically going to get when you go in there?
Banana split. Banana split.
Banana split?
I have a banana split. I have 2 vanilla, 1 chocolate in the middle. Banana split. Pineapples, cherries, a little chocolate syrup with whipped cream and cherries on each of them.
You almost designed that like a play.
I do. I'm sick. I mean, I'm very superstitious too. It started Friday night for me with a banana split. I'll take it through my routine. Friday night, banana split. We have chapel, we have a meeting, we have snack, and if I went to we were on the road, they didn't have it, I'd go down to the kitchen and make one of my own. I'd get a banana, I'd get some ice cream, and make my own banana split. Then get up and have breakfast, and if it was a 1 o'clock game, we'd have a meeting. And then I'd drive in the back of a van with Dave Butts would drive, Mark Mosley would sit in the passenger side. I would lay in the back with my game plan on one side, People magazine on the other. Read People magazine cover to cover. Get to the stadium, I would go in, I'd get some towels, and I'd lay towels down in front of my locker, and I'd create a bed. And then I would undress the same way, I'd take my clothes off in the same fashion and hang them on certain hooks. Then I'd put my uniform on, put my jock on, put my socks in my jock, and then I'd lay down and prop my feet up, and I'd again study my game plan, read People magazine. I was the last player dressed. When I put my uniform on, I put my left knee pad in, my right knee pad in, my left thigh pad, my right thigh pad. Tuck some thigh pads in here, put some tape around. Tape had to finish right in the middle. I mean, I'd take it off 3 or 4 times. If it wasn't exactly where I wanted it, do that. And then I'd take my helmet, flip it 1 time, pop it on my head, walk out of the locker room. And I always had the Redskin logo. I always had to hit that for good luck. But before I did that, just before I got the helmet, I had a hanky in my right pocket. I had to blow my nose 1 time. Oh, no, I'm sick, okay, I'm a superstitious, that was that was my routine. We were getting introduced one day, I forgot to blow my nose. I ran all the way back, we were introducing the offense, and they got to the offensive line, they started on the backs. And I was the next to last guy introduced, because John Riggins was the next one. I go all the way back, I go running back in the locker room, blow my nose, I come flying back out, just as my name is being announced. I go out onto the field. So, yeah, I'm obsessive.
Any superstitions here while you're here in Great Falls? Like any plans that you have from here on out until you have to go over?
No, I'm winging it here. This is all, I'm just winging it here. This has just been fun. So and I want to thank Jim Walden, by the way. I want to thank him for, he's a spearhead for so many things that go on here. And I've had a wonderful couple of days because of him and everybody that's involved and the hard work that they've done to put this on. This is no easy task. I certainly appreciate you all coming out. I hope everybody comes out tonight. We're going to have a good time, a lot of fun, and there's a lot of young men that are going to benefit from this too. But that's just one of my obsessions. It took a couple of days to get through, but yeah.